Welcome back to Light Talk, where the paranormal and the supernatural is a part of our everyday lives. I am so excited to have this guest on today. She's got tons of stories and she's an amazing medium, and I just want you to enjoy everything she's saying. So let's get started. So go ahead and introduce yourself and welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Jodi Higginbottom, and I'm a medium psychic. Um, I work in evidential mediumship, which is bringing forward evidence of who your loved one is, how they are present in your life, and helpful healing messages from them. So psychic is working with your energy and bringing forward potentials and different aspects that may be helpful in healing in this life and help you empower you. It helps guide you on your path a little bit. So yeah, and I'm Blue Sky MPR. You can find me on that, or you can also just text, email, you know, kind of old school call. People still call nowadays. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So, how did you get into all of this stuff? How did this all come about for you?
Yeah. So that's a journey. So I've always been intuitive. Like, there's folks that have been mediums their whole life, being able to connect with those that have passed. I was not brought up that way, but I've always been intuitive, more so on the psychic side, even though I didn't practice. And then in 2020, I started having a series of losses. First, it was my grandmother, my father, and then a few cousins in between, family, friends. And then my son transitioned in August. He was 16, and it was very sudden. And it was a very odd experience. First, you're going through all of the shock and all of the feelings of losing a child. Um, and at the same time, I felt like I was like torn in half, and I was watching myself from my bedroom window looking down. I actually stopped and I said, something's not right. Like this something doesn't feel right. This isn't right. And I didn't know if it was a shock process or what. But thankfully, he did start communicating right away and letting me know he was here, he was with us, and thus the journey began. So yeah. And then, I mean, since then, my father and my father and my son worked with me the most. Um, a little bit later on in 2020, my mom got a pancreatic cancer diagnosis. So she moved on in 2021, and a couple, aunts, uncles, and families. So since that time, since 2020, I've lost about 32 close family, friends, and pets. So
Wow.
when my son transitioned, it really was that idea, well, you're going, so I'm going to go with you, but in a different way. And so I really have to credit him and my father for taking me on this journey and leading me. And this moves naturally into the next place. Putting the right people in front of you. That's a big thing, right? So I had my first mediumship reading from another gal here in town. She does an amazing job. She actually does writing. I had
Mm.
met with her and she brought through so much evidence, right? And she looked at me and she said, I have the weirdest feeling he's there with a sister the same age, but how can that be? That can't be. My mouth literally hit the floor because when I was pregnant with him, I lost his twin.
Oh,
So
yes.
for me, that's extremely evidential and like, oh my God, this is real. So it was, so she then put me in touch with another local medium, and he put me in touch with the Journey Within, where I started doing my development in mediumship and psychic development. Yeah,
That is amazing. So, oh my goodness. For one, I'm sorry for all the losses. That is really hard. And for two, to lose your child. I don't think it matters when you lose a child. It's still hard. I miscarried at
it
six
is.
weeks. And so
Yeah,
having a
I'm
child
so
and
sorry.
early on, I think it's still very hard for people.
It is.
So
It is, and I'm so sorry as well. Um,
yeah,
Gosh,
I have connected with her.
good.
And
Guides
I
you, huh?
did, what was that?
You said she guides you, huh?
She's done something. I know I have seen her once real quick, like, and my brother has connected the two of us, and we got to talk for about 3 hours or something. That was really cool. That was really cool. So
Oh,
yeah, so but it was really
I have
hard. I mean,
chills. That's beautiful.
isn't it? Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And we spoke for probably a good half hour or something like that. And I asked him, I go, do you know who you're talking to? And he's like, no, who is this girl that I'm talking to that you two are crying, hugging?
Oh,
'Cause she was hugging me and everything. And he even shook her hand and or held her hand and everything. And
yeah.
he's like, no, I have no idea who this is. I go, that's my daughter. It freaked him out.
Oh my
He's
God.
like, what?
Bless.
I get to be niece. He got all excited. But yeah,
Yeah.
so
Oh,
it was really cool. It was really cool. So
yeah. To have the connections and to be able to experience, whether it's your child, your mother, your father, to begin to realize that their time here on earth does is not the end of it.
mhm.
And to be able to continue on growing a relationship with them is really a gift. It is, and it's a hard spot to acknowledge, okay, they've moved on before me. But then at the same time, it's like, whoa, you guys have moved on before me, so you show me the way, handing it over and just being open to those experiences. I'm so happy that you had that. I really am. What a
It is
blessing.
amazing. It is really it is. It's awesome. I was so excited. He was able to bring her through and everything. And he did this just on the spur of the moment. I thought it was so cool. But
Did you feel it was very heart healing and
it was it was confirmation. It was good confirmation because what I saw, I knew was her.
Mhm.
But as in the beginning, you're still kind of like, I don't know. It was just, I think it was more of a confirmation that we were able
Sure.
to just have that conversation and to know that she's doing good and to know that she misses me and my mom's up with her and my mom is very proud of her and um it's it was just really comforting. It really was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's I found um well, let me just first say, through any loss, if you feel you need help, it's okay to get that. Get your, the counseling and go through and I did as well, for a while, the professional route. But I really did find my healing, and understanding the transitions of everybody and all of this grief and everything. I found, for me personally, my mediumship really helped, on multiple levels. So, for instance, when we're doing practice readings, the medium sitting with me brings through a
Mm-hmm.
loved one with undeniable evidence and messages. So I'm like, okay, they're here. So there's that. And then the other piece of it is, um, through my development, being able to work with my father and that was a very interesting thing because I read from my mom bringing through my dad, and that's a tough one because when you know the people in spirit, first you have your own
Mm-hmm.
memories and
Yes.
evidence, right? That they
Right.
forward. So I had to really go out on a limb because I'm working with my mom. Thankfully, she was open. Um, and I really did set the intention to my dad. I said, you need to bring through evidence that only you and her know. And, he showed up. He did it. So I just kept on practicing with them. Um, and so I do feel very, very supported in and blessed that I got to experience it with my mom, my sister, and a few other family members as well, and then blessed that, as I know they work with me, so I know that they're still around um, yeah, I don't know. There's so many different, um, ways that they show us that they're still here.
Yeah.
And sometimes we miss it. Sometimes we definitely miss it. It's hard to say, well, what's my sign from, you know, my grandpa? What's my sign from my grandma? How do I know? Um, and I can tell you, I had a lot of odd things happen in the house, electricity wise, TVs coming on that I still can't figure out myself, still cannot. It will just come on. And that was really interesting. That was about 6 months after my son passed, and he was a brilliant, very, very gifted photographer from the
Mm.
start. And I was going to bring his photos to put on display over at Dasbog here in town. That's where we used to have Friday coffee all the time.
Oh.
And I was really nervous. And I came down the stairs, and all of a sudden, I just stopped in my tracks. And the TV was on, and it was, like how Google puts those photos on in the background, or like it just randomly plays photos on a TV screen.
Yeah, I don't have it set up with my TV, but
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Well, anyway, so it will randomly like put on and switch through pictures. Well, as I was coming down the stairs, the TV's on and the picture on, it was this fiber optic kind of picture, and it was so ironically similar to one of his pictures. I just looked at it and I said, okay, I'm going to walk out the door. And I went and I put his pictures on display because it's hard. It's hard navigating. First, there's grief of, like I got to put I wanted to put my son's artwork out. I wanted people to see that, but I was still nervous inside, like, and second guessing, is this the right thing to do? And so that has grown a little bit, which is nice. And yeah, I mean, straight up, like I get knocks in the house, orbs. I do different orb videos and stuff like that, which is amazing, different interactions. Um, and then I can say specifically when you're searching or when you're seeking a sign for figure confirmation of communication from your loved ones, one of my favorite things to do and to share with people is the sign game. I get so excited about this, and it works. Let me tell you what, it works. Whoever you would like to connect with, and however you do, you don't have to have a big, long, drawn out prayer. There's times that, sometimes I pray, sometimes I just imagine I'm walking in the yard. I just put myself someplace with them to connect with them, whoever it is in
Okay.
spirit. And I just put it out to them. I said, do you guys want to play the sign game? And I said, if you do, just drop a sign into my mind, and I'm not going to say no, and no matter what it is, but I will see it over the next week or two, and I will know it is undeniably you. Okay. Sometimes random things do come in. Like one day I had heard hit me with your best shot. I'm like, oh, that's weird. And that was a really odd one. It had happened, it had come to fruition. 2 days later, I was driving in town, the song's on, and I was like, oh, this is my song. And then at the same time, somebody had called me and they said, you're not going to believe this. I just got a sign from Anthony, my son, as well. So it was like we each got signs at the exact same time. So it was like,
Oh, cool.
confirmation. Some people really chalk it up to, oh, coincidence, coincidence, but there's a lot of synchronicities that are going on, and if we pay attention or at least are open to it, um, it can be a very fulfilling journey to walk through this life experience, the physical life, hand in hand with spirit. And, you don't have to call, there's people that call that name God, infinite intelligence, like whoever, whatever, as whatever gives you meaning, as
Right.
long as you have that, I feel that that's important. You have a belief in something else, or maybe even just a curiosity, and I feel that that's kind of the key to opening up to show me,
Yeah.
show me what you got, hit me with your best shot, basically, right? So,
That is awesome. That is wonderful. Yeah, I've gotten signs from my mom, and
yeah.
that was one of them was cigarettes because she was a heavy smoker. And I was like, okay, when I started smelling and feeling like I just took a puff,
Absolutely.
that's when I drew
Hmm.
the line. I'm like, let's no, no more, no
Yeah,
more. Give me
that is,
something different.
you just, yeah, you just touched on a big one, those phantom smells, and they show up. And if you can't place it, obviously, when you do get things like that, so like even knocks in the house or the things flickering, like first consider, okay, is the electricity going bad? Is there a storm? Put whatever in place to try to explain what you're experiencing. So, figure my dad was heavy smoker as well too. So smelling cigarettes is actually I have a very dear friend in northern Minnesota. He is the funeral director. He's taken care of all of my family members. He is a neat, neat cat. Let me tell you what he does. He does his own style of kind of communication and connection, and he honors those that he takes care of through music. And he'll say, he'll talk to whoever he's taking care of. And for example, when he worked with my dad, he said, okay, Jim, we got to get a song for Jodi. And then so he'll say, I'm going to hit shuffle on his playlist. He does it through music and he gets a song, right? That is such a specific song. And it's so ironic when it comes up. But so he will smell cigarette smoke also. And he'll check in and he'll say, what's going on? Your dad is here. And he is on point every time. Even his wife has smelt it and she says, Jodi's dad's here. You better check in with her. So it's just so
Wow.
common now. And they don't smoke. There's no smokers around, windows are
Hmm.
closed. So that's what I mean by like explaining it. Sometimes the different knocks within the house or whatever, is it your house settling? Be realistic. But
Hmm.
then if there was another time with the knock specifically, nice, loud, hard knock on the table back here. And I just stopped. I said, okay, I know you're here. Can you do it again? And they did it again. And so you can ask them to repeat it, if you want. Or you could also just say, all right, if that was you, drop a sign in and I'll see it over the next week and I'll know it's undeniably you. Yeah. Give them credit. Credit where credit's due, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'll be practicing that one. I learned a lot this past weekend, so I'll be working on that and some more of
Yeah, there's so many ways that we each can connect with our loved ones. So yes, you can go to a medium and so mediums should be able to provide evidence of who is coming through for you. It should be, I mean, and let me just backtrack a little bit. A good mediumship reading should be 80% or more on point. So evidence can include, male or female, estimated age of passing, some factors that contribute to passing. People ask, do you see the accident? I honestly, I do not see the accident, but I feel other ailments that contributed to the incident or their transition. So other people may see like they may see a car in connection with an accident and be like, I feel this person was in an accident, you know. So they should have that. They should have relationship, maybe close family. It could be like that whole heart feeling, sometimes, even, oh, I feel like this gentleman coming through his father, straightforward like that. And if he's not father, he's very fatherly, having a strong impact on your upbringing or who you became. So they should have that. And then another nice one is their personality. Because honestly, at the end of the day, we all know our people, right? We know them usually inside and out. And so that's a nice piece of evidence to bring in. And land your link. A link is a communicator in the spirit world. So once the link is established, the medium should be able to bring forward more evidence and also helpful healing messages that resonate with you at this time, that are important, that are and that too, it helps they are watching me, they know what's going on in my life, they are here. So that does really help. So it should resonate. And sometimes it can be a simple message, like I'm proud of you, for a daughter that didn't hear I'm proud of you, just that simple, couple words may mean the world to them, so not to, negate anything as general, because as a recipient, you're not really sure what matters the most until it really hits you and says, yeah, I didn't hear that a lot from this person or whatever. Um, yeah. So I hope that kind of helps. And then on the other side, have you yourself had a mediumship reading before?
I've had one. I've had one. And he was pretty right on. Pretty right
Good,
on
good.
with it. Yeah. I've done
So
some readings on others and done pretty well.
great. And then, so
Yeah.
how does it feel for you to be a sitter? Like, what tips do you feel? So that's one of the things that is important. Like, as a sitter, the recipient of a message, um, like when you were having your experience as a sitter, because I know this is where I've gathered my information, or also as a presenter, what do you tell your sitters? Because they don't always know what to expect. They don't know how to be. Sometimes people think you're, bringing through others from not great realms, so that's a whole
Yeah.
nother piece to navigate and take on.
Hmm. Yeah.
Have you
I
thought
mean,
about that much?
no, well, kind of.
Okay.
Kind of in a sense. Yeah, because I want to be able to give something that is relates to them on a personal level.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's I want
Well,
them to understand what I'm saying and they resonate with everything I say. Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
absolutely.
Um, I will be honest, my favorite sitters are a nice, healthy skeptic. They probably are. And it's a fun dynamic because they come in a lot of times, kind of cross-armed, and you're not going to get nothing out of me, which is fine. So as a sitter, whether you're skeptic or not, doesn't matter. Couple things: go in open-hearted, open-minded, because a lot can happen, and um, a lot happens that has the potential to transform your curiosity, would be the way to say it.
Mm.
So coming in with saying, for example, oh, I want my son and my son only. I'm going to be honest,
Mm.
that doesn't always happen. And for
Mhm.
me personally, my father always comes in before my son. They always come together. And that happens, sometimes there's like a welcome person, like somebody to open the doorway, and then who you really want to connect with comes in next. A good practice is to talk to your loved ones, and you can say, hey, I'm meeting this coming week, please come visit me. I'm really looking forward to making this connection. So talking to them, inviting them, they already know what's going on, but it doesn't hurt. The whole aspect of the keyword, that usually is something that can hold back a really, really great reading. There may be special little words here or there, phrases that one may walk in and say, well, unless they say silver lining, I'm not going to believe anything. And meanwhile, the medium perhaps brings forward all this other really great evidence, but you're not going to take it because that one keyword isn't there. Well, the truth is, this is not dialing up somebody on the phone and saying, hey, tell me everything. So, and another thing is too, things do get lost in translations. You got to think about it. As light workers, we don't have a manual. We don't have a translator. So there's this aspect of, we get images, insight, feelings, sometimes we do hear it, but we may misunderstand how it's given. And that's okay. Because as a good sitter, you do want to say, no, I cannot take that information, or no, I don't understand what that's about. Perfect. So
Mhm.
obviously, if there's yes information, say, yes, I could take that. Yes, that's right. Yes. When there's no's, it's up to the medium to go back and try to bring it back to spirit and say, what does this mean? Just for us to be open to pull that string a little bit. And sometimes it is a figurative thing, and sometimes it's symbolic. Sometimes it brings forward a message, like the significance of owls. For example, maybe you don't understand where that place is. Be like, oh gosh, this person's really showing me this owl, bringing forward wisdom and watching over you. And so it may have a whole nother meaning, but as a
Right.
medium, we should be the ones telling you. Also, don't feed the medium. Don't feed the medium. That's a big one. So, and I get it,
Mhm.
because when I feel that connection of like my dad, my mom, my son, I want to talk about my loved one. I want to share them. I want to be like, yes, this is my child. This is my father. You got him perfect.
Right.
But we do have a habit, and I am guilty of this, of perhaps sharing too much information. What can happen when you're working with a medium that maybe doesn't hold uh, I don't know if the word is ethics or the higher standards, but they should say, you know what? Thank you for telling me that, but let me go ahead and see what else I can get from spirit. So, because we want the evidence to come from spirit, not the sitter. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's
Like you're
kind of one of
saying,
those
not to,
things. And
yeah.
yeah, don't feed the medium, right?
Yeah.
And as a medium, your medium should not be fishing for information. So figure we give 5, 6 pieces of information. Can you understand all or most of this information? Yes, perfect. From there, we should be delivering evidence. We shouldn't be saying, does your person do this? Does your person do that? Does your person, because in a sense, that's fishing for information. Or if you added a piece of information, the
Yeah.
medium may, and sometimes unintentionally, it does happen, say, oh, yeah, I just said that, or things along those lines too. So there's, in order for you to hopefully have a really good, authentic, evidential reading, your medium should be bringing you the information from spirit. You should be able to take, like I said, 80% or more. You should leave feeling empowered. You should leave feeling loved. And also, never scared. So that's another thing I hear a lot of. I always tell people I don't do anything creepy, cursy. I don't get that information. And I will not work in that space. If a medium or a psychic is saying you are cursed, I would find another one. If they're saying buy this candle for $50, and then come back and see me in a month and buy another candle for $50, there's a good chance you may be taken advantage of. So have your wits about you. Um, and just, you should be never scared of what an evidential mediumship reading is going to bring you. That same thing for
Yeah.
psychic on that side, working with your energy, your potential, your everything. So you
Right.
shouldn't ever leave feeling frightened, scared. You should never leave saying, oh, somebody said I'm going to be moving on soon, or, passing away. That stuff is not
Yeah.
right to leave with people. And it leaves people in a state of fear. That is not ethical. That's not ethical mediumship at all. At least in my book, so that's my opinion.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great. I agree with you. Because when I do readings, I don't want them to say anything too much to me. I don't want them to feed me. And I'm giving them everything that comes to my mind or what my feelings, like you're saying, the senses. I read what's coming through my senses, and that's how I get my readings. And I've done,
Yeah,
like I said,
yeah,
I've done well with them. So
yeah. And it comes in, many different ways, as you know. So if you're thinking about looking at your own relationship with spirit and how that looks to you, or how do you, receive your intuition? How do you receive those intuitive, like, gut punches? Like, sometimes, yes, you do feel it in your gut, right? Solar plexus is great, right? um some people hear it. I'm a strong feeler, very clairsentient. And in fact, I did not work with any visions, like the clairvoyance, for probably the first year and a half. I really had to just put it out there. And when I got one vision, I was like, yes, I got one finally. So my mentor, I've had a great mentor throughout this whole journey, entire journey. And she has said, you work to your strengths and welcome in the rest, so, and just allow it to grow at its own pace. You can't force anything with spirit. It's going to come when it comes. So,
yeah,
yeah, so that
yeah,
assessing of how you get information is important to learn how you work, how you're going to develop, and not compare yourself to anybody else, right? Like, that's a big one too. Well, I should be having visions by now. No, not if you're a feeler, not if you're a hearer, not if you have these other abilities. That's what you should be doing, right? Um, to help empower, future mediums and psychics, and so on, to listen to their body, to what their soul is telling them. This is how we work together. and my story is going to be different from somebody else's. And the biggest thing is that we all develop in our own way, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I've learned, everyone has their own speed at it, and some get it right away. Some they've had it some since birth, some have like big skipping of time, and then it comes back to them. Then it's, the time of working with it to get to the next stage.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it does take time. At least it has for me. I have to say it has for me. It's taken time.
And that's a great point to make, that whole timing thing. The biggest thing, oh, I got chills again. I got to say this. It happens at the right time for everybody, right?
Mhm.
It does. So, being somewhat psychically aware through my early life was very, very important. Very, very important. Before I started any of this, the day is this is kind of a bittersweet story. Um, my son had been, this is the day before he transitioned. He had been not great about cleaning his room. And I was like, you need to clean your room. Like, you have to clean your room. You are not going out until it's done. And he had, at the time, a beautiful girlfriend, and all he wanted to do was go out and go do the school thing because they were getting ready for school to start the school year. And I, he was so upset with me. I said, nothing's happening until your room's tidied up. And you could see he was just holding it all inside. And I looked at him, and I've wondered too if this was one of his lessons that he had to come and learn. I have not, I'm not gonna. But I said to him, I said, I said, I know what you're thinking right now. I said, I know you're thinking how much you probably hate me and how much I wasn't here. I said, but what you're not thinking about is how much of today is really in your control. You can change the outcome of today, right? So, with a couple tears strolling down his face, fine, he goes upstairs, and 20 minutes later, he comes barreling down the stairs. Mom, you got to come see what I did in my room. He's like, I got my cards cut, so they're coming out of the wall. He was so excited, right? The room's all done. I said, all right, go do what you got to do, right? And then we were in the kitchen, and he said, you really creeped me out. And I said, why? And he said, you said exactly what I was thinking, the words. And he was like, don't do that. And I was like, I didn't mean to. I was, you know, like we were all young, so, whatever, chalk it up to life experience, whatever. But that is
Yeah.
probably my funnest time of creeping him out. So, and that was something unique. And,
Yeah.
sadly, he did transition the next day. So,
And
whether it was learning, hey, I can take control of the day, or, he honestly, he was so in love when he moved on. It
um,
was a beautiful day. They had beautiful plans, and it was a tragic thing that had happened. And, he, I thought about it shortly afterwards. It was like, my gosh, like he left probably on the best day of his life. Like, to be in love, to be full of joy, to to not have a care in the world, right? It's like, I'm not saying, like his life wouldn't have been great, but there
right.
was a lot of stress that has happened since his transition. And I don't, at least for how I know him, and my daughter has said this too. She said, I don't know if he would have been okay. So, take that for what it is. And I'm just glad, he was in love, um, and, like flying high, man. right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's awesome.
but
That's awesome. I'm glad that he ended, and a lot of people, they pass and they don't get that the sorries and whatnots taken care of before they leave. And it sounds like you two did, and that is amazing. That is beautiful.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I've always had very open conversations with my kids, very open,
Hmm.
like, this is, and look, I didn't do things right. Learning how to communicate is a thing of its own design, right? And
Right.
with each and every person.
Yes.
So, and I'll tell you, like, had I honestly realized the value of a birth chart, my mentor also said, you need to, because my daughter's an Aquarius. I'm a Virgo, totally like, oh, she drives me bonkers with like she's so free and just like I can do it. And I'm like, okay, there's a method to the madness. So it's just, but my mentor had said, pull the birth chart. And I will suggest that to any parent, any grandparent, and I do it now for like all my friends, pull their and my nieces, I pull all their birth charts the day they're born. There's some great free websites out there to do it,
Oh,
and then
wow.
you get to see, you know, who they are, or like behind the scenes. It is really like I had to learn completely different uh, parenting tactics for my daughter versus my son. But like I said, I've always been open with
Hmm.
them. We always had, like, if there was a disagreement, number one, you never shut off love. You always know that you're loved, right? So sharing those things has always been important. In fact, remember that little newspaper clipping, Dear Abby clipping
Yeah.
many years ago now. Hang on.
Yeah.
But it was a small story about, you never know basically when the last day is going to be. So always say your goodbye and I love you.
Yeah.
I had that taped by my door at my last house because it was just something, and again, no clue what was coming in my life. Um,
Right.
but it was always important. So figure the two kids had a fight, they had a fight, and then it's like they're gonna go get ice cream. Okay, go. You guys, the ups and downs through it all, sticking together. Um,
Hmm.
you did touch on a good point, and it is when people transition and that is a piece of evidence that comes through. I'm not going to lie, that is something that comes through. Words left unsaid.
Hmm.
Sometimes the communicator, if they had struggles with a relationship with you, oftentimes I feel them reflecting on that. And I will say too, because some of them are sticklers. If they didn't apologize in life, and if it was not in their character, sometimes I don't feel that they're going to apologize now. They bring all of that character through. But what they do share is this aspect of life reflection or meeting you head on and saying I should have done different. It comes in different ways. I'm just right now like looking back on this collection of folks that have had that. Um, and in whatever way they bring it across should be important to the recipient. It should be an evidential piece, right? And sometimes there is a very deep I'm sorry, or the word regret comes in. So they share that, so they do know. And I can share this as well. Between my daughter and my son, there's 5 years. So, she's a teenager and he's a little boy who just wants to play with her, gets on her nerves, right?
Right.
Through the ups and downs, part of sibling loss is this aspect of, maybe I should have been nicer to him, or I wish we had more time. And, those are real things. And how kids and siblings of any age deal with grief is completely different from parents, right? It is. And just like friends, aunts, uncles, things like that, it's all different. So
Hmm.
I was so touched, and I'm gonna cry now,
It's okay.
when my daughter shared, a little bit of, what she thinks about me. I said to her, I said, I said, there's still time. It's not going to end. And on wherever, so she's just outside of Washington, D.C. And at that exact moment, like she got a very specific sign from him. So it's like that aspect of the confirmation but allowing kids their time to talk. I mean, she's in her 20s now, and loss happens forever. My sister and I, we were just talking about our parents today, and she's got different memories as well. So if she and I went to a reading, my mom might connect with me with certain evidence and then her with other evidence, because the different experiences. But,
Right.
you know, at the end of the day, we both lost our mom, we both lost our dad. And my sister, she's so funny. Oh my God. She would just make my mom laugh so hard. And I was envious of that. Like, they're such good friends. Like they just roll laughing. And at the same time, I had deep conversations and laughs with my dad. So it's like we each kind of had a parent, to help us
Yeah.
along. And my sister said, she was like, I wish I would have had more time, talking to dad like that, and put more time into building that relationship, especially as adults.
Mm.
And equally, I said, I wish I would have gotten some more of those laughs with mom, you know. Um, so we all have that, and sibling to sibling, it's definitely that piece of, we each grieve differently. Like for uh, Anthony's young girlfriend at the time, I was talking with her, and I realized, and I told her, I said, you're going to process things differently, because I'm grieving him as a son and a friend. You're grieving him as your partner, basically as a spouse. Like,
Hmm.
that's a
Right.
heavy, heavy thing. So, I do send prayers
Yes.
to all of his friends, and I, because it's a hard journey for us all. We all grieve differently, but yet grief is one of those things that's like, yeah, don't touch it. We don't know what to say, right?
Right.
But it happens to everybody. It
It
happens
sure
to
does.
everybody. One of the most touching experiences. I ran into Anthony's uh, Anthony's karate teacher at Walmart, and he is an amazing, amazing teacher. And you could just see he was so broken. He was so broken over
Hmm.
Anthony's loss, and you could just like his whole energy said he does not have the words. He doesn't know what to say. And I looked at him, and I just said, and because he kind of like shrugged a little bit, and I said, it's okay. I don't know what to say either. Yeah, he was like, yeah, but in that moment, somebody else was feeling this as deeply as I was.
Hmm.
And for me to be able to help him in that moment and just say, hey, it's okay. I'm just glad you're talking to me, basically, um, that's a big thing.
Yeah,
And,
it is.
you know, and we love it when we talk about our children. Like there's a group of us, and we want our kids' names to be spoken, like I want to talk about my mom. I want to talk about my dad. I want to talk about my son. My sister wants to talk about, her husband that passed. It's this piece of keeping them with us. It's not everybody's
Hmm.
cup of tea. But I will tell you, when the right people are around you, they always write on the cards, send our love to Stephanie and Anthony. We seen Anthony today. Like they carry that love with them.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it makes the journey, and I know that you can relate to this, going through such grief, when people don't even put a hand out to you to connect, it's really hard. Like, right? It's hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you find out very quickly who are your lifers, the ride or dies, and maybe those that are just going to be acquaintances. It's not that they don't wish you any harm, but maybe the grief that we bear might be too uncomfortable for them for whatever reason. And that relationship may evolve in time when they are ready, so that's the way it goes. And not
Mhm.
being angry about it. Some people, it's just hard.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really tough for a long time. As when I had my miscarriage, it actually put me out of the family for about 12 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I didn't really have a relationship with any of my family for a long time
Oh,
because of my
that is
miscarriage.
sad.
So it can be tough depending on your family situation, and I had a great in-laws that were able to bring me in and help me to get through it and everything. So, it was great to have those
Yeah.
people, you know, even though, but
Mhm.
I also found out as time went, like you're saying, everyone grieves differently. I grieved differently
Yeah.
than my family did. So it was something that they didn't understand why I was grieving.
Mhm.
And I don't think they knew how to react to me. So
Yeah.
it
Absolutely.
was
Absolutely.
just the difference of how people grieve and everything because they lost family too. They lost a niece, they lost a granddaughter. So
Yeah.
they I think that's kind of what it was is they didn't know how to react to it and it was hard for them
Yeah.
to understand why I was talking about it and they're like I don't know how to deal with this. Stop talking about it.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
I'm smiling because you are literally reading my mind. That's exactly what I was just thinking. That piece of,
Yeah.
they're grieving their granddaughter or their niece, their cousin, and it's a hard thing to do as well. And
Mhm.
that was a wake-up call for me. My mom, she after a very severe stroke and heart incident, she began dreaming of people past. And that is a piece that came out odd. I had seen a posting of one of her friends that had passed, so I had to tell her. But she came to me and she said, "Mom, or Jodi, I had the weirdest dream light last night. So and so was there, and they said they were visiting with me, but it wasn't my time yet." And I had to tell her, "Mom, he passed away."
So
So
she's
very
yeah.
shocking and hard to her.
Mm-hmm.
But she worked definitely. She brought through my dad many times, like many, many times in dreams. And then when my son passed, I did, and this is the part of not understanding directly this person is grieving too. Like she's crying and sad and definitely and feeling it. But I said to her, I said, he's going to come to you in a dream. And I said, you have to tell me when he does. You have to tell me. And it took about a week. She did agree, thankfully. And she took about a week and she called and she said he came. And I said, okay. And she said he was talking about some bridge. So at the time, she was like, be careful of all the bridges. And in my mind already, I'm like, he's talking about the bridge of connection. I know what he's talking about, like in my mind. Okay. And then I did
Yes.
ask her, I said, Mom, what was he wearing in the dream? And she said it. And I had to, it almost took my breath away. But I said, Mom, that really was him. That's nobody knows, but that's what he was wearing in the accident. And she was like, no, that grabbing, but at the same time, she was also oddly filled with joy that he came. It's that struggle, between grief and then the joy there's here. And it's like, and then on top of it, she provided me my very, very first experience. Like, I just brought her a message from her son. Like, that's a heavy weight for a grandmother who idolized her grandson. Like she wasn't the doting grandma, but she was definitely a fun grandma. And Anthony was the only grandson in the family. So, so
There you go.
that was like, it's hard, to navigate, how to go about it. But, and then
Yeah.
it evolved into this, and then she got very comfortable with her dreams, amazing with her dreams. She's like, okay, we're
Yeah.
gonna do this, and she did
That's
say,
awesome.
I will add this. She did say, because after the stroke, she did wonder why she survived. She often, I mean, strokes change a lot about folks.
Mhm.
Um, but she did say after that, she said, she said, now I know why I survived. I will never again second guess why I survived after giving me that message that he came. Isn't that crazy?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
So,
Yeah. Because
yeah.
we always have, there's always reasons for everything. And I think there's reasons. I mean, I don't think there's any coincidences anymore. Um, I still
Oh,
second
high five
guess
on that.
sometimes. Yeah, I
Yeah,
still second
I
guess
do
on a
too.
couple things, but I'm getting better. I am
Yep.
bringing it about. I am trusting myself a lot more so I can bring those
Right.
messages in and have them speak more with me. So, yeah, it's a growing.
Yeah.
It takes time for some people,
Well,
but
we're
it's
human,
been fun.
right? We're human.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's normal to second guess and wonder, like, wait a second, is that for real? So that's why I always check in and say, okay, we got to do the sign game. Yeah, and I'm not lying, it works. I heard something the other week and I said, Dad, if that's really you, I really need to do a check-in because it was something I wanted to hear. When
Hmm.
you want to hear something, it's like, is that my mind saying it? So I did the
Right.
sign game and I'll be damned. It showed up the next day, followed directly by a Leonard Skinner thing with him. And I was like, okay, definitely you. I'm gonna give it to you, So just having those little tricks and having them work with you, they're not gone, at least in my mind,
Right.
in my heart, in my soul. They're always with us. We are not bothering them. They want to help us and offer support. So I do include them and I do encourage others to do that if they're comfortable with it,
Hmm.
because yeah,
Absolutely.
and it's okay to second guess and wonder if it's you. I mean, that seems like a very healthy mind, right? In today's
Yeah.
day and age, you have to kind of wonder, like, wait a second, do I have my faculties about me? And so it's normal to second guess and it's good to do your own check-ins. Be like, hang on here, am I okay today? You know,
Yeah.
all
I
right.
mean, that's how you learn, though. That's how, at least that's how I learn is,
Me
I need
too.
to have that for sure thing. If there's hesitant, then it's like makes you, was it? Was it? So yeah,
Yeah.
you learn what those little signs are. You learn what is yours and what isn't you. And yeah, it's so much fun. I am having so much fun with all of this. So
Yeah.
it's
One
awesome.
of the things, like, I feel younger people, and especially younger ladies. I'm talking probably definitely younger than the 40s, where um, they have a lot more strength and a lot more like, so I got to give, props to the parents raising them, because there's a lot of strong young ladies out there that listen to their intuition, and and strong young men that they're starting to listen to their intuition. If something feels off, they are not going to do it, so I feel like there's so much, even on that note, like I'm learning from young people. It's like, okay, hang on here. It's okay for them to do certain things. I can do that for myself, obviously within reason, of course, but
Right.
just that empowerment. And I feel there's a sense that young people have it, young people have it. I would love to know where my daughter got it from. Um, because I was kind of like nervous. I still said, go do this, but it's got to be in her birth chart. It's that Aquarian energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite amazing how all this works. It still just awes me. I'm so,
Every day.
yes, yes.
Every day.
Ah,
It is. I
mhm.
I do every day say something amazing is going to happen today. Every day. And it could be through signs, like music signs. It could be like even just like a sense of feeling empowered to do something, maybe my fears set aside. But there's this aspect of people, and me too, think of the word miracle, and they think it has to be this grand, grand thing.
Mhm.
When realistically, I I have seen way too many experiences. I've seen answered prayers right away and answered prayers that take time. I've seen signs that come at a moment when you get hit with the reality, like, oh my God, this is my life, with everybody in my family almost gone. Almost everybody's gone. But then in that exact instance, the light bulb comes on, or like a certain song comes on, or like a picture pops up from just random, right? And it's like, okay, that's a miracle. Like, I just, spirit, the universe, I do not, I agree with you. There are no coincidences. Everything means something. Everything. Everything also has a potential to teach us, to help us open more. And just that curiosity, and the sense of the gratitude of being surrounded by those miracles, like, the butterflies at the right time, or, perhaps
Yeah.
like I get a blue jay twice a year normally. Now the blue jays come all the time. And I used to connect it with my grandmother, but then since my mom passed, now I have two. And I was like, my blue
Oh,
jays, that's my mom and grandma, so different signs, and spirit will use what you're open to, you know,
yeah.
and then they'll keep teaching.
Yeah, exactly. Um, I have dragonflies. We
Yay.
had um a dragonfly fly around our house and it would not go off of our property.
Sure.
It just fly in the front yard all around, but would not leave our property line. And then another one would come in. The two of them would be flying around, not leaving the property line. And then one
Huh.
time a third came in and it was kind of in and out, but it would stayed nearby.
Yeah.
And then two of them took off, did their thing, and the one still stayed. This one was in our yard for about an hour or so for a week.
Yeah.
It would just go around. It was amazing.
Huh.
It was so awesome.
That's interesting. Like, here, I
Yeah.
don't normally get dragonflies, maybe one once in a while. So, there's not normally too many bugs, I guess, for them to eat in the drier summers or something. But So that is pretty interesting. Plus that it stayed right at the property line,
Yeah.
right? Like your little
Yeah.
guardians.
Yeah. I know they were
Oh, I
there
love
for,
that.
they were somebody for us. Um,
Yeah,
they were watching, there's a purpose for them. I'm not quite sure yet, but yeah, it would go to the edge of our property. They'd go to the sidewalk and turn around, come back and just fly around the property line, just all over.
that is
It was
awesome.
so cool. It was so cool.
Oh, that is awesome. I love that. I love that so much. It's fun to watch just to even be curious. Are you gonna leave? I had very similar, I have a thing with birds. And prior to Anthony passing, I had 7 dogs. So I didn't have birds around the fence or really here at all, because the
Right,
dogs would bark and chase them, right?
right.
And the day Anthony passed, I was sitting on the back steps and in shock, right? And just kind of like talking, like trying to make sense of things. And this little bird came up and landed on the fence and it was chirping at me. And then I literally I started talking to it and then it was like chirping back. And I finally did say, "Are you Anthony?" I was like, this was the weirdest thing. But not only from one bird, but very quickly I started having birds coming all around. Like the grandkids that were coming over at the time, they even noticed, they're like, "Look at the bird, look at the bird." The dogs weren't messing with the birds. So now it's like I get a lot of odd birds here, which is great. I love it. It's
Hmm.
messengers, right? And
Yeah.
feathers. A lot of people get feathers or coins. Oh, if you get coins, a good tip is look on it and see if sometimes, like if it's a state, if that has significance to a loved one, if the year does, if the location. So there can always be different little cues on things, signs within signs. So
Uh-huh.
that's always a good one. Also the amount. Sometimes for a while I was finding 11 cents. And it happened after my dad passed. So I'm like, okay, penny here is good, right? And then I'd find a
Right.
dime right away. Or sometimes right together. It was always 11. So, I'm like, I actually have a jar
11.
of spirit money, given
Oh, cool.
from them. But yeah, it's fun. And then I think they will change it up. I think they will 100% change up your signs to keep you up on your game and keep you watching, keep you sharp. Um, Numbers are another really good one. I have a massive set of clocks in my house. Every one of them are wrong. Every one of them. Even my computer is 1 minute off, oddly enough.
Oh, wow.
But I did that because I started thinking, like, for a long, long time, and another dear friend of mine had the same thing. We would always look at the clock and it was 123, 123, 123. So that started changing. And then after Anthony passed, well, what after my dad passed, I started noticing like 116, 116, like that's a specific day for him, or 512. That's another one, or other numbers. And then when Anthony passed, I started seeing his birthday all the time. So I said, that's it. What if I trained myself to look at the clock at exactly the right time every day? That's why I have every one of them wrong. And honestly, you look at them, or you drive by maybe the gas sign, the gas
Hmm.
prices, that may be a specific birthday. Like there's just these little pieces or that jump out and it has significance. Other people pass by, but it's significant to us. It's a sign to us. So give it that extra little love and say, "You know what? Thanks for making me look because I needed that."
Yeah.
It's fun.
My numbers are 23 and 32. So I will look
Ooh.
at the clock almost so often as I look, and it's not it this time, but so often I look at the clock and it's something 32 or something 23. So it's funny that you said 23.
So did you ever look
Uh-huh.
it up for angel? This is another thing.
Yeah.
So all
Yeah.
of the listeners could do it. If you have
Yeah.
repeating numbers, so this is fun.
Hmm.
One of my favorite gentlemen I did a practice reading for back in the day, total skeptic. He was awesome. I brought his mother through, brought forward good evidence, and he reached out about 6 months later for a psychic reading. So do the psychic reading, connect in, bring forward whatever's intuitive. And I picked up there was something about major job changes, right? And these changes moving forward. His mother popped in for a couple words of advice, of course, when she did that, because I had worked with her before. I have to get new evidence, present new evidence to prove she's here, right? That's another thing. Um, so then I look at my cards. I always follow up with looking at my cards to see if it confirms what I had just said. So I don't look at the cards beforehand. Started looking at the cards. It was all falling in line with the intuitive reading. There was one bundle of cards, and from one of the other decks was placed in, and I couldn't get my eyes off it. So, and the way it was positioned was like 159. And I was like, something's wrong, something's more here. And I looked at the gentleman, I said, what are the numbers 159 to you? And he said, well, nothing except I see them all the time. I said, have you looked them up? And he said, what do you mean? I said, so everybody, whenever you see the repeating numbers, look up it, just Google it for 159 angel numbers, and then see what message it has for you. The Google verse is going to have tons and tons of results. So, first thing is if you read what it might mean, and if it resonates with you, keep it. And if it doesn't, let it go. Okay. Second thing to kind of move through, because I do this a lot. And I was like, I don't know which one to pick, right? Indecision again.
Yeah.
So I look at the dates of when they're published, and I find a specific date to one of my loved ones in spirit, whether it's a birthday, past day, or another one too is I will use also my daughter's birthday. I'll be like, okay, what do we have? So finding those specific dates, I use that almost as a compass. I'll open it up. I'll read what it says about whatever number, and it is usually spot on. So little tips to help you kind of navigate when there's so much information. But look it up. Same with
Yeah.
animals, touching on that with the
Hmm.
dragonflies. Um, if an animal presents itself to you, whether living or perhaps maybe it's on a bumper sticker in front of you, you see this fox. You're like, oh, okay, what's going on? Animal presents itself to you. Usually it's carrying a message for you. Doesn't mean it has to be like your power animal or whatever, but it has a message. So go ahead and look that up, like figure fox symbolism, and read it again. If it resonates with where you are, take it, keep it with you. And if it doesn't, let it go. Right.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
I could
We
talk
just,
science and stuff like that all day.
and we've had that a lot. And I look them all up. We had this one spider that was at our front door,
Yeah.
and it sat there all summer. All summer it was there. So in winter, when the cold weather got it and everything, we were like, we were looking all year, summer, or what is it, in the spring when it started getting really warm out this year. We were like looking,
Yeah.
and it's like, is he going to come back? It's like we missed our little
Right.
spider sitting there all summer. But yeah,
Yeah.
you get these little things. My husband found three um praying mantis around our yard. Three of them.
Oh,
So it's like,
yeah.
and he's the one that found them. So it's like, that's a message for you, not me.
Yeah,
That one's for you because
absolutely.
you found it. So we're looking all that up, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a lot of fun.
And did the symbolism resonate with where he was at that point in life? Yeah. And I just want to check in on your spider while he or she was there, because I don't know the spider
Yeah, me
anatomy,
neither.
or how that works. Um, because they are a symbol of, and I'm deathly afraid of spiders, a symbol of creation, though. So very creative energy, thinking about that web, safe home. So just when you reflect on the time the spider had sent with you, did you find a lot of creative endeavors really kind of like coming up in your life, even in your household, or like a lot of pathways are starting? And
I have to think back on that one. I'd probably
yeah,
say
just
I was starting up more on my journey, probably really starting
good.
to get more visual of where I was going, starting to have starting, it was the
You're building
starting.
your web.
It was building the
Yeah,
web.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
I love that. I love that so, so much. Yeah,
yeah,
that's awesome. So we'll see what comes to visit you now that, you're several feet in and committed and, open to learning and checking it all out. Yeah, I think
yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah, we'll see what this year's.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. I love what you do. I love what this whole concept is. It really, it's amazing to me. It's so
It
amazing.
is.
So
It's
much to learn, so much to just offer.
and that's the thing. So like offering, obviously, you don't unsolicited advice, no. But when we share our stories of our signs, our connections, our experiences, even, seeing 333 for 33 days and 3 months, there's a big thing with that. When we share that stuff, then it empowers, and in some ways sometimes people are afraid to talk about stuff, but it opens the door for them to say, oh my gosh, I used to get 444, or going on their thing, or even just random numbers like 159.
Yeah, yeah.
It helps empower people to have that connection of openness to talk about these things that are unseen, that happen, that people brush off as coincidence, but it keeps
Mhm.
happening. So for the receiver, it's like there's got to be something with it, right?
Right.
And
Something's got to be.
unless we talk about it, get it out there, sometimes, it's just, or research it, or see what can you teach me. Um,
Yeah.
folks may not get that opportunity to find a community that really supports them in their growth and in their unique journey. Because at the end of the day, we're not here to be carbon copies, right? We're not here to, necessarily, yes, there's rules that we have to abide by. However, um, there's that piece of also making your own path, and just because, somebody wants to follow in their own spirituality and that development doesn't mean it's wrong, doesn't mean it's woo, doesn't mean it's, anything. It's just, and it's a piece that's needed. It really is. It helps bring heart connections and to a lot of people, and to allow them to talk as well.
Yeah. And that's pretty much what this show is about, is letting people know of all these different stories that people have and things that they've experienced, and allowing my listeners to say, wait, I've had something like that. I've been worried of saying something because people would think I'm
Exactly.
crazy. But
Yeah.
in all reality, you're not. You're
Yeah.
not. This stuff happens. That's why it's just so awesome to have this and to have all my guests, because they're helping out so many people.
Yeah, definitely. And the other piece about that specifically, it just kind of came in, is, this aspect of having experiences, but not really knowing who to talk to about it, or having the community. The truth is, the everybody has experiences. everybody has experiences. It's there for everybody. Um, but sometimes for whatever reason, maybe they're just not at the point of noticing it, or maybe they don't want to know about it. My dad was like, no, I don't want to talk about that. So, while he was here, I tried when my grandma passed, but um, for him, it was just better not to question what happens after people pass and what else is out in the universe. Um, but I don't know. There's a lot of odd, amazingly odd, that's the way I want to say it, situations that so many of us have experienced, from orbs to UFOs to, my daughter and I had a shared experience of seeing a huge light ball in the middle of a room on my son's 1 year anniversary. It's a shared experience, absolutely insane. um
Beautiful.
and you share this, and it might open the door for that one person who you think, oh, they're not going to ever be okay to talk about this. But they may say, you know what? Now that you say that, I had something weird happen once. Can I tell you? And then
Yeah.
their door opens. It's just, a
Yeah.
ripple. So, and empowering each other, allowing people to talk, like about
Yeah.
whatever. So that's just where I'm at with it. I'm right with you.
Yeah. And you brought up a good point, something I haven't thought about saying on my shows, but if anybody just has a story and they don't want to be on the show, that's fine. Co- connect with me, and you could just tell me your story just to get it off your chest. And I think that'll be great, just allowing
Yeah.
yourself to be able to talk to somebody. That's what we're here for. So we're here for you,
Do you ever
here
do
for all of you.
call-ins for folks I'm sorry I interrupted you. I'm so sorry. I
Oh
got
no,
so
you're
excited
fine.
on this.
No, you're fine. To have
Do you
call-ins?
ever allow people to call? Yeah, to share their stories. I mean, they don't have to say their names or anything if they don't want to, but to share their
I haven't
stories.
done live shows yet. I haven't done live yet,
Okay.
but um I'm still nervous of doing
The
live
door's
shows.
opening to that.
Yeah, and I do have another show though. I should say that. I do have another show I'm on. It's called Truth and Light, and we do that twice a month where people can call in if anybody wants to call in and tell their stories or want a reading of any sort. I do it with another lady. Her name is Summer. And so we do have that. So if anybody wants to call in for that,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
email.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be
we're
very fun. I know there's through the Forever Family Foundation. I don't know if you've checked them out, but they have Signs of Life Radio. You can go through the archives. People call in with their experiences. Sometimes they have medium insights, like different categories of conversations. But again, people just call and they share their experiences. It's community. The listening community is like open. So, and your story may ripple forward and trigger somebody else. Like, this was something that I experienced. This is real, you know.
even if it
I think it would
doesn't
be
seem
great.
real.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that, yes, because yeah, there are some things that are just like that light bulb my daughter and I see. Honestly, it was the size of a softball way late at night, and the room was completely dark. Um, and I was in one room and she was in the living room, and I had the divider closed, and I see this light, right, flashing. I was watching The Flash, oddly enough. It was my son's favorite show together, but we used to watch it. I'm sorry. And all of a sudden
Okay.
I seen this really bright white light, and and then it stopped, and then it started again. And I looked and I said, Stephanie, I said, what are you doing? And she's like, oh my God, thank God you see it too. Like, it was honestly that big. I got up and I checked, like there was nothing flashing any lights. All of the curtains, they were all like light blocking curtains. They were fully drawn. There is no way this could have happened. And she has seen it since. I haven't seen it since. Um, but I was just like, that was your brother. And she's like, that was. It was the
Nice.
craziest thing I think by far I've ever seen. And people wouldn't normally like
Yeah.
you wonder, like, am I hallucinating? But then when it's a shared experience, thankfully, it's something.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So then,
Some yeah, some of my experiences they still feel like dreams to me. But
yeah.
if you have something that is with you for so long
Oh,
and that you can still see very vividly,
mhm.
it happened.
Yeah.
It happened.
Like those dream visits too, those are real. Those are absolutely real. And the way they feel in your heart center, I mean, usually, of course, you kind of wake up and you feel this sense of deep, deep love. You still might cry because you miss the person, but like that sense of love that comes through, those visits are real. Um,
Hmm.
that's a whole nother spiel there. But
Yeah.
yeah, they're real experiences. They say a lot of things do happen in the late night because when we're sleeping in the dream state, because our mind is at its rest, right? So we can't filter and close off. So I don't
Well,
know.
the way I've been hearing, when you're asleep, your soul leaves because your soul doesn't need to sleep. So it goes on all these little travels and all of these
That's what I think.
yeah, they travel and go
Yeah,
all over the place. So they're like, "Oh, well, let's go here. Let's go here.
yeah,
You need a lesson. Let's go here and teach you a lesson. Let's go here.
yeah,
They travel. They're on adventures as our soul or bodies are resting because we're human and we
yeah,
need to rest. So I think it's really
yeah.
cool.
I
Yeah.
do feel that is what happens. I do try to, when I lay down, I say a quick prayer. Thank you for the body. It's your time to rest, and it's time for my soul to go play and go visit and do what it's got to do. And but I do try to say thank you to my body because
Mhm.
at the end of the day, it's carried us, and you know, it's it's done a lot of work. Like it's carried a lot of the load and of this life, the hardships, and still
Yeah.
walking, still upside. So yeah,
Yeah.
but
Very
yeah,
good. Very
that's a
good.
neat thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we've been on for quite a while. There was that 32. I just looked up. It's 32. See? Um,
yeah.
so thank you for being with us today. And I love that we have so much journeys, so many journeys to take, and so many lessons to learn. And we're always here to enjoy those lessons and to enjoy those journeys. Um, and I'm glad you were here to help us go through some of this and to help experience some of this. So it's beautiful. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you so much. And just, I guess, in closing, angel number 32 is a message of faith, trust, and divine support, encouraging you to maintain positive attitude, which I've seen you outside and you do, to attract your opportunities, which you are.
Mhm.
So it signifies a period of growth, encouraging you to use communication and balance to foster harmony in your life and your relationships. And I mean, you're doing it,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
So it's pretty
Yep.
good.
I'm on it. I'm on it.
You are.
I'm flying now. I'm flying.
Yeah. I know there's
So,
no turning back once you get in it, huh?
geez, no. You just go deeper and deeper and deeper.
That is true. One thing, that's probably why so much time has passed because, one thing leads to the next, many rabbit trails and that curiosity, it just, um, as long as we don't close it off. We will continue growing, and we're meant to, like, we are meant to continue evolving, whether we're in body or spirit. I do believe that. And yeah, so I kind of threw my hands up and said, take me, teach me,
Yeah.
use me.
Yeah.
So,
It's
yeah.
to me, it's been almost addictive in a good way. It's addictive. You just want to
Yeah.
learn more, want to learn more, want to learn more. Now I've
Yeah.
learned so much. I feel like now I need hands-on. So
Sure.
I'm pushing myself out there to get some hands-on,
Good.
to get some to go that next step. So I am just
Yeah.
I'm flying right now. I'm flying so high, but
Well, good.
it's so
That's
fun.
awesome. I love hearing that. And thank you so much for the opportunity to sit with you today. I
Absolutely.
really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you again for being here. If anyone else out there has a story you would like to share, email me lighttalk423@gmail.com and we will get connected. So we will talk with everybody next time. Bye.